Meeting of the Amherst Township Trustees called to order. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lynch?
Here.
Euring?
Yes.
Kish is present and Abraham is excused. I will start with the October 8th, 2024 regular meeting of the Amherst Township Trustees. The meeting was called to order at 7 p.m. by Lynch with a pledge to the flag and roll call. Abraham, Lynch, Euring, and Kish were all present. Additional attendees, Case Marsh, Al Ashley, and G. Lynch. 10-124, a motion by Euring, seconded by Abraham, to approve the September 24th, 2024 regular meeting minutes as presented. All ayes. 10-224, a motion by Lynch, seconded by Abraham. Move to approve the financial reports and payment of items on the payment listing as presented and with reservations. All ayes. 10-324, a motion by Lynch, seconded by Abraham. Move to accept the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor under Revised Code Section 5705.34-35. All ayes. There were no audience concerns. Under correspondence, the fiscal officer reported that a full audit will begin next week and over the next few months. This is a huge undertaking, and it would be appreciated that any help requested be given. Fiscal officer also notes that she will be attending the OAPT, Ohio Association of Public Treasurers Conference, tomorrow through Friday. This conference allows continuing education hours needed to be earned in a condensed amount of time versus a week away at other conferences. Trustee Lynch asked Township Administrator to provide the information on new requirements under House Bill 47 for townships. They are: 1, a township with a population of 5,000 must place at least one AED in a centralized area at each recreational location under its control. And 2, a township with a population of 5,000 must adopt an emergency plan specifically for the use of the AEDs. This plan must be practiced at least once per quarter to ensure preparedness. And 3, a township with a population of 5,000 must train a sufficient number of staff persons of each sports and recreation location in the use of AEDs. Fact-finding is now underway for cost, placement, equipment needed for outdoor storage, and grants and training. Lastly, Trustee Lynch reported the next Sandstone Joint Ambulance District meeting will be held on 11/7/24 at 11 a.m. at the Amherst Fire Station. 10-424, a motion by Lynch, seconded by Abraham. Move to approve Sandstone Joint Ambulance District appointment, Melissa Gulker. All ayes. Under reports for zoning, the Board of Trustees of Amherst Township discussed scheduling a public hearing on a proposed amendment to the Amherst Township zoning resolution that was initiated by passage of a resolution by the Board of Township Trustees. The hearing was to be held at the Amherst Township Hall, 7530 Oberlin Road, on October 22nd, 2024 at 7:30 p.m., but due to several conflicts with trustees' schedules, the October 22nd date will not work. Trustee Lynch is reaching out to the prosecutor's office to see what options we have. Under Roads, Park, and Cemetery, Superintendent Smarsh reported dumpster days was last week. 6 40-yard garbage dumpsters and 1 scrap dumpster. Regular maintenance. Under Senior Services, Medicare enrollment is currently open and closes December 7th. There are lots of changes. OPWC subcommittee meets tomorrow. We should hear about round 39. Working on gathering information on variances to create a searchable database. Going through R1, R2, and R3 for records destruction. Trustee Euring called for a 5-minute recess, and Trustee Abraham seconded. Meeting returned at 8:12 p.m. We will continue with the regular meeting and then discuss what the prosecutor discussed with Trustee Lynch regarding the public hearing. Complaints are being handled by a designated individual. Under new business, 10-5-24, a motion by Euring, seconded by Abraham, for an 18-month extension of memorandum of understanding with the Lorain County Board of Commissioners to participate in wireless emergency notification system. All ayes. The prosecutor provided several options for consideration in scheduling the trustees' public hearing for the zoning text amendment. We could leave the public hearing set for October 22nd, 24, and due to not having a quorum, the process would die and we would have to start all over again. Because the public hearing must be advertised in the paper at least 10 days before the date of the hearing, but no more than 30 days from receiving notice from the Zoning Commission, the public hearing could be set for Monday, October 21st, 2024, which would meet the statutory timeline. The public hearing will be on October 21st, 2024 at 9 a.m. here at the Amherst Township Hall. Fiscal officer asked to look at the calendar to set the organizational meeting for 2025. The December meeting dates will be December 10th, and the organizational meeting will be held on December 17th, 2024. The December 24th, 2024 regular meeting will be canceled. The next regularly scheduled meeting will be Tuesday, November 12th, 2024 at 7 p.m. at the Amherst Township Hall. The October 22nd, 2024 regular meeting will be canceled due to not having a quorum. 10/6/24, a motion by Abraham, seconded by Urick, to adjourn at 7:30 p.m. All ayes.
Okay, are there any changes or corrections to the October 8th meeting minutes?
The only thing that I have is 10-2, I have that, I second that on the financial reports. I have a couple questions on the ones with addendum.
I will look at those.
Yeah,
the
verify
actual-
10-4, I have Lynch Abraham, she has Urick Abraham, and 10-5, I have Lynch Urick, and she has Urick Abraham.
I will look at the
So
actual
she will verify
resolutions.
that and make sure that the minutes correspond to those resolutions. So aside from that corrections, I'll make a motion to approve the 10-8 minutes as corrected.
I'll second. Possibly corrected.
Lynch? I'm
Yes.
sorry, Urick?
Yes.
Lynch.
Yes.
Okie dokie. So then we have the October 21st special meeting of the Amherst Township Trustees. The meeting was called to order at 9 a.m. by Lynch, but with the pledge to the flag. Roll call, Urick and Lynch were present. Abraham and Kish were absent. Also in attendance, G. Lynch. Trustee Lynch noted a special meeting was scheduled October 21st, 2024, due to a lack of quorum available for the October 22nd, 2024 regular meeting date and the need to comply with the Ohio Revised Code zoning amendment timeline. The October 22nd, 2024 meeting is canceled. The October 8th, 2024 regular meeting minutes will be approved at the November 12th, 2024 regular meeting of the Board of Trustees. Trustee Lynch recessed the regular meeting at 9:02 to move into the public hearing for a zoning text amendment initiated by passage of a resolution by the Board of Township Trustees. The trustee returned to a regular meeting from the zoning text amendment public hearing at 9:20 a.m. 10/7/24, a motion by Urick, seconded by Lynch, moved to adopt the zoning commission recommendation to approve the text amendment of the Amherst Township zoning resolution to protect the public health, safety, and general welfare, provide clarifications to eliminate unnecessary public hearing delays, to ensure compliance with the Ohio Revised Code, and to correct various spelling, grammar, and section reference errors. All ayes. Under reports, under ambulance, the next meeting of the Sandstone Joint Ambulance District is 11 a.m. Thursday, November 7th, 2024 at the Amherst Fire Station. Under road, park, and cemetery, Lynch reported OPWC Round 39 Rustic Hill Lane Restoration Project was approved by District 9. Township Administrator Ashley will enter application into OPWC portal. Under new business, the next regularly scheduled meeting will be Tuesday, November 12th at 7 p.m. here at the Township Hall. The October 22nd, 2024 regular meeting will be canceled due to not having a quorum. 10/8/24, a motion by Lynch, seconded by Urick, to adjourn at 9:28 a.m. All ayes.
Okay, are there any changes or corrections to the October 21st special meeting?
I have none.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Lynch?
Yes.
Urick.
Yes.
Then do you want this all read? Or just the public hearing?
No, Chris, I mean, that's a lot to read on that. I would say, just if you read starting from, calling to order, go through, and after that last bullet point, I would just stop there.
Okay. The date is October 21st, 2024. The subject trustee public hearing on proposed zoning amendment. Called to order at 9:02 a.m. Lynch noted this public hearing involves a proposed amendment to the Amherst Township zoning resolution text that was initiated by passage of Resolution 8924 by the Board of Township Trustees. The amendment pertains to the following. Amend the text of the Amherst Township zoning resolution to protect the public health, safety, and general welfare, provide clarifications to eliminate unnecessary public hearing delays, to ensure compliance with the Ohio Revised Code, and to correct various spelling, grammar, and section reference errors.
And then read the next section all through the bullet points, and that'll be it.
Substantive changes to protect the public health, safety, and general welfare, eliminate unnecessary public hearing delays, and to ensure compliance with the Ohio Revised Code include the following. prohibition of human, animal, biosolids, waste, water treatment facility sludge, or industrial waste storage, burial, or impoundment. The sole exemption shall be the storage of either human or animal waste generated on premises. Specify the approval process for planned unit development, sign and fence design standards and criteria. Provide an alternate design and site plan review process when the township architect position is vacated. Increase the time interval for the holding of a public hearing by the Board of Zoning Appeals from within 20 days to within 30 days of receiving the material related to an appeal. Update the Board of Trustees' authority from unanimous to majority if the board denies or modifies a recommendation of the Zoning Commission.
Are there any changes to the public hearing meeting minutes?
No.
Okay, I'll make a motion then to approve the October 21st trustees' public hearing on the proposed zoning amendment.
Second.
Lynch?
Yes.
Urick?
Yes.
And then, since we did not meet the end of October, I put in your packets a payment listing of payments that were made from 10/9 to 10/31, and then also from 11/1 till tonight. So you have both of those in your packet. I thought you'd want to see. It was basically payroll and monthly bills. Nothing out of the ordinary. And then our revenue summary through November 12th is $1,744,742.90. And our year-to-date expenditures is $1,196,191.38. You need them again. David?
No, I
got
got
him?
those. I got those. Thank you.
Just bear with me, Chris.
Sure.
A little slower than normal here.
And there's a lot to sign in the green folder.
Yeah, I see that. It's not going to look like my normal signature. Okay, David, do you have any questions on financial reports or the payment listing?
No, I don't.
I'm going to make a...
Just one question.
Yeah.
Looking at these, which are 1014. The note's 1014 on it. Okay, is the first one.
Yes, that was
That
from
would be, okay.
after the meeting on
Well,
the
look at the
8th
warrant
through the
numbers,
end of the
I
month.
guess. Sure, which one goes with which? Okay, then. All right, I got it.
I'm going to make a motion to approve the financial reports and the payment listing as specified in the documents provided by the fiscal officer.
Second.
Lynch?
Yes.
Urick?
Yes.
What's that motion number, Chris?
For the financials?
Yes.
11-4.
Other bills coming up? Major bills between now and the end of the month?
The end of the month?
I mean, end of the year?
We have second quarter fire. We've not received that. We've gotten fourth quarter. We get the fourth quarter for the first payment. Either
They're
the second or
working-
the third.
They're
one.
working on it. We'll have it in
Yeah.
a couple weeks.
But it's usually not till either the end of November or December that we get that invoice.
Okay.
And we have new people
That-
doing
It
it
is the
now.
third quarter because we'll get the fourth quarter the first part of the year.
For the third quarter, you're saying?
Yes.
All right.
That's probably
Why would we
the
have
biggest
second quarter?
one.
Yeah. All
largest. And then
Yes.
you've got the monthly, David, that is the way we agreed to pay for the ambulance service.
Right, and there is a check in there for them, which is October's payment because we didn't have a meeting, so.
We all set?
Oh, yeah, the truck.
Oh, yeah, and what's
Yes,
this?
what
Well,
is-
we'll get,
we'll
when we
get
get
to
to your
that.
report on the status, 'cause, yeah, that was supposed to be
But yeah,
August.
that one too.
Yeah, that'll be the big one. Did you hear that, David?
Yeah.
Because it's been delayed, you know, we were assuming it would come in August, and here we are November, but we expected. All right, is there anything else then, Chris?
Nope.
All right, I'd like to welcome everyone in attendance. If anyone has anything to bring before the trustees, raise your hand. Nothing, Kirsten? Okay, you'll get another shot. Okay, we'll move on to correspondence, and I may end up moving this later, and I don't know, Linda, if in your report you're going to report more on the House Bill 47 that's now put the requirement of having the AEDs.
About that much.
Okay. Well, we'll just let that go. I'll probably end up putting this as an agenda item in the future versus leaving it in correspondence. But obviously, we've got some work to do there. Also, a reminder that Commissioner Jeff Riddell will be attending the next meeting, November 26th. It's going to be a follow-up to the last meeting it was here, and how the counties and the townships can coordinate different development projects and activities that are going on in the county. Also, there's a reminder here from the auditor, Kaini Cortez. She did send correspondence out to the trustees to complete a fraud risk assessment questionnaire. I know Chris had mentioned prior to the meeting that they're still waiting on some. So we've got to get those completed because otherwise we're going to be dinged on the audit. So as I had mentioned, Chris, for Denny, probably the best thing is sending him a text. I mean, you weren't on the auditors. I noticed you weren't on the distribution list, which surprised me. So when I completed mine, I included you.
Right, I got a separate one.
Did you?
Yeah, I don't.
I just figured you'd want to know what we're turning in.
Right.
And you're the records clerk, and I created that, so that's why I included you on it. I was just surprised when I looked.
Yeah, I don't know how we're gonna get Benny, because I know he said he doesn't check his emails, so.
Well, that's why I'm suggesting a text, and if he doesn't respond to that, I think at that point, the question is between the prosecutor and state auditor as to what they recommend. I mean, I can't force somebody's hand, but it's something they've got to do, and I'm not doing somebody else's homework. Okay. There's also, we're fortunate, the OTA training subscription, which typically is $250, and we know that that will be reduced to $175 if every township in the county, and ours including Olmsted Township, participates. It drops to $175, saving us $75. There were several townships chose not to participate last year. This year, we got 100%. So that being the case, there were several townships, including our township, that had already paid the fee. The way it was explained at the Lorraine County Township Association says the OTA will reimburse us that, so you'll be receiving a check from them, Chris, for $75. That's all I have in correspondence. David?
I have nothing to bring forward at this time.
Okay, and anything else will be an agenda item. So we'll move on to reports. Ambulance. I'll just report we did have quite a lengthy meeting on November 7th. We did have Melissa Gilker, our new appointee, was also there, and her skill set is very good to have on the ambulance board. We did have the directors of both the Southern Lorraine County and Central Lorraine County ambulance districts there to describe how their operations work. And how they fund their operations, what their call response times tend to be, and the problems they run into. Some of them are similar to what we experience, but it's much more difficult for them because they're covering such a much larger area, is to provide the same level of service that we have in our area. never realized the southern district is even longer. They actually have a charge per mile. There's no hospital close to them. So every trip when they do have to make a transport are long trips that they're going on. And having, since they are fully staffing and providing the vehicles and the equipment and all the training, ambulance leaves their area, taking somebody to a far off hospital, they're basically relying on mutual aid from that point to come in and fill, because some of them have only one crew on a shift. They try to get two crews during the daytime, which is their highest peak, and they've kind of shifted those two crews, so you have the one starting early, and it might be 3 hours later the second crew comes on, so that they give a longer period, predominantly covering the time when people are starting to go to work, to people coming home from work, since just as we experience, many of their calls are motor vehicle accidents. They also explain the difficulty of running into those motor vehicle accidents in their areas, which tend to be higher speed country roads in addition to interstates. They're usually double vehicle crashes, so they sometimes need both crews at the same time to transport people, in addition to the fire departments that will come out if somebody has to be extracted from the vehicle, depending upon how the crush went. Funding, they do both submit bills. They predominantly expect, particularly the motor vehicle accidents, that the insurance companies are picking up the tab on that. It's something that we've discussed here, both with the Sandstone Joint Ambulance District and also some of our fire costs, to try and recover those costs. And if you, without even looking at fire reports, if you just even look at the local newspaper, we had a home that was hit on 113, and we had a vehicle fire on State Route 2 in our township. Well, imagine how many people show up for those, and the cash register is ringing. So there was discussion, no decision yet as to how can we recover some of those costs. The way we left on that particular item, after hearing how things are done in the Southern and Central District, is that my responsibility was to contact City of Amherst Mayor Mark Cosflow to broach the subject on the idea, and he was supportive, and I expected he would be, because he and I had had this discussion with former Chief Jim Wilhelm when we went through the negotiation of the last fire contract. Rob Costco, City Council person in the village of South Amherst, was to discuss with the issue or the idea with Mayor Jones, and then current Amherst Fire Department Chief Brandon Demakia was going to check with all of the different communities within the area to see if they're also charging, because I know Chief Wilhelm had told me at the time he felt they all were, but we don't know that for a fact. They thought we were the only ones that did not. But the issue is these costs are continuing to escalate. As we know, we're in a situation now, it's not dire. The money coming in is covering the money going out. But we know what's going to happen is when that new vehicle comes in, and I get that at a 38-month lead time, so we still got another year and a half on that. And when that $1.3 million goes out, the cash kitty is going to drop down. That's less money that can be invested, and we already see rates are dropping. So we're going to run into a position where more money's going out than money coming in. So as opposed to, since we are strictly funded by levies, and asking for a levy when we reach that point, is looking at, can we delay doing that by actually charging for service specifically for those that are outside our area. But if we do that, we want to make sure for the ambulance district, all three communities are in agreement, and then it would be the same thing with fire. So it's not something that's going to happen quickly, but it's something we're looking at. We could not review response times from Life Care because Life Care did not have them prepared. They did indicate they're going through a new software implementation. That's the reason they gave. So there was no review of any of the response times. Because of some other concerns that have been broached and we contract with a private entity, there are plans put in place, just an emergency backup where used ambulance has been purchased. One of the automatic cots will also be available. There is the advanced life support monitoring. This is used that Amherst did put in for a grant, but they were turned down, like $138,000 for two. So now they've got a used ones for $37,000. The used ambulance, it isn't like it's just a vehicle sitting there not being used. What it's being used for right now is a store, the water rescue equipment, and it had a hitch put on it to tow a boat, since Amherst also is part of that. But it can be quickly converted if necessary to an ambulance if everything goes south on the way things are now. And a lot of this we're aware of is some of the change in the law and how ambulance services get reimbursed from people's medical insurance, particularly the Medicare and Medicaid. They get a lot of times they call out, they show up, you're paying people to be there. If they don't get a transport, they're not allowed to bill. So that's, we're now looking at how can we cover those costs, because right now with our last contract, we're paying $189,000 a year. It didn't just affect us because the city of Elyria, city of Lorraine, the city of Vermillion, all three of them are in the same boat. So there's been discussion going on even among those different communities as far as fallback options that may be necessary. I think I've covered the key items. We will have our next meeting in February. The date and time still has to be finalized because there were different people that couldn't make it at certain times, and we had a couple of the board members weren't there. So Brandon's going to send out a reminder, and hopefully we can get a date that everybody can agree to, a date and time. If there's any questions, otherwise we'll move on. Sheriff's not here. Chris, I did get a call from the resident on Old Middle Ridge again about parking on there with the gentleman that's repairing vehicles, and supposedly there were 5 cars parked along the road and left there. But I know 3 weeks ago Deputy Fuller went out there and there were no violations at all. So I suggested to him the best thing is call the sheriff's non-emergency number if it becomes an issue to take care of it. Zoning, Sam's not here. I didn't have anything to report on the zoning commission. I don't know, David, if you had anything there?
No, Justice, they had, 2 site plan reviews?
Okay. And then for...
One for a building at Simon's Hodges Storage Building, and the second one was for proposed bus garage at off Dewey Road
Okay.
by the school district.
Okay. And that
Those
was...
2 items.
Okay. And the school district site plan was approved. They now have to go for a conditional use hearing before the Board of Zoning Appeals. As far as I know, that's not settled yet as far as that date. We do have for the Board of Zoning Appeals, I think everyone's aware that Dr. Watson is going to have to come off the board. He's asked because of other commitments. He is going to serve out through the end of this year, but then he's said he'll resign after that. He's been a real good add. He's been consistent in attending meetings in addition to taking minutes, so that's going to be a tough one to fill. So what we've got is some changes here. We've got Melissa Gilker's currently our second alternate, so we're going to move her to first alternate. And then we've got Nancy Rist, who did show up at the last BZA hearing, and which was a conditional use for a dog grooming business. And then she's also going to try and attend, there is one of the training webinars the OTA puts on for Board of Zoning Appeals individuals. That's going to be done here at the township. I assume you're using a large screen, Linda?
Yes.
So that multiple people can all see it and interact at once. Since not every one of those individuals have a membership, the township, and it's only those that pay, well, there's nothing wrong with them sitting in on that. We're aware of that. So she's going to come in to help with that type of training. So the first prepared resolution is the Board of Zoning Appeals appointment consideration of, it should be Mrs. on the title there, Chris. It's an MS. Honor. Realize trying to type with one hand is not real easy. And so this is the appointment of Melissa Gilker as the first alternate to the Board of Zoning Appeals. And I'm not going to read through this prepared resolution, so that'll be my motion.
I will second.
Lynch?
Yes.
Urick?
Yes.
Here. Okay, and the number on that, Chris?
11-5. 24.
Writing with your non-dominant hand.
Well, that's fun.
Getting better. Okay, and the next one is resolution consideration of an appointment of Nancy Rist as a second alternate to the Board of Zoning Appeals. So I'll make that motion.
I will second.
Lynch?
Yes.
Urick?
Yes.
That's 11-6.
Correct.
Like I'm back in first grade here.
The way you are, in your months of learning how to write, left hand.
Okay, Chris Nyhart's not here for our fire prevention officer, but again, I've already reported in the ambulance board meeting, we're aware of the extra ambulance that's being used for water rescue, but can also serve as an ambulance if we get to that point, and the potential of actually having fees charged to the insurance for the times that they're coming out as first responders, particularly with the motor vehicle accidents. So we'll move on to roads, parks, and cemetery. Superintendent Smarsh.
We've been on leaves and catch basin clean out. In between the leaves, we've been maintenance on the trucks. We've painted the chassis and the frames of the two salt trucks, and gone over most all of the hydraulic hoses on both of those trucks as well. We still have the rims to paint, and other than that, just all regular maintenance.
Questions, David?
For Kevin?
Yeah.
The only question I would bring up, since we have you here, is what's the weather at this bend? It's been rather dry. Are we getting sinking in the roads? Was there anything in several sections? Concrete seems like they've deteriorated more. They're more down. I just wondered if that was...
I notice more, when it rains, just when the stuff comes out, but for settling purposes, I haven't.
wondered. That's just something I bring up, but, okay. Anyway, other than that, I have nothing at this time.
We'll move on then to Township Administrator, Linda Ashley.
I'll mention the House Bill 47 that you had mentioned earlier. Kim from KLA Consulting, which is Otarma, we've been playing phone tag for the last couple weeks. So she said she had some more in-depth information for me. I don't know what that is. 'Cause I told her our dilemma, and then when she called back, she goes, I've got a lot more information for you. It's in-depth, and I'll call you back. And anyways, phone tag. I did just call her again today, gave her my personal number. She didn't call back. So hopefully within the next day or two, I'll have some information. Morgan and I have looked up AEDs. The cheapest one that we could find was about $1,350 for each one, and then about a $500 box. So we're still waiting.
Right.
Like I said,
The real cost is going to be the ongoing training, the ongoing calibration.
Exactly. We did talk to Life Care, or Morgan did, to Life Care. They came up with like a $1,850 cost, which was a $150 reduction. And they'll do the training and stuff. So we have to kind of weigh it all out. If they'll do the training, if we buy our AED somewhere else, or if there's going to be a charge to it. So we're still spending time on it.
Really
Thankfully,
hope the state legislature realizes the difficulty. I think I shared when I talked with Representative Miller and Representative Manning, they both were under the assumption this was for schools and indoor
rec centers,
recreation,
right.
and it got expanded. No, it's the outdoor recreational areas.
yeah, and we've talked about it before, vandalism, theft, people using it that don't know how to use it, because there's nobody down there. And a lot of it does say on there that whoever is going to be administering the AED, that they know how to use it. And the staff, usually the staff members is what they're talking about, and there's no staff down there.
Right.
So we're still looking into that. Thankfully, the ball, fields and stuff are not being used right now. Park is still a little bit the playground, but as far as sports.
How many
they're done.
groups do we have that use?
I'm sorry?
But how many groups do we have that use the park right now? The soccer group?
Right now, they should be all done.
No, how many different groups have a contract with us?
We have the softball and baseball, then we have the soccer,
So that's 3.
mhm,
And then we have
and then the
football.
Pee Wee football over here.
We have 4 groups.
Mhm.
By right, any coach there, excuse me, any coach, there should be a coach or a person there when they're there that's trained in AED.
Mhm. It should be.
If I understand correctly.
But if you're on the playground and you're a mom or a nanny or grandma, and something happens on the playground, you're not going to be trained how to use that AED. Or somebody's jogging in the park, on the path. And that's where I was coming from. The coaches should be trained, they're supposed to be. I don't know who's going to monitor that to make sure that
When
they're all
there's
trained.
somebody supervisory there, but if there's nobody there, then
A lot of questions we have that we're still looking into. Logically, it doesn't make a lot of sense. But, and then as far as the WENS training, I did get in contact with Dave Freeman. He did send me some information, and I've been kind of looking through it when I had a few minutes. We don't have a whole lot of time, but, so I'll be doing that. The cemetery honor wreaths will be putting the wreaths on the veterans' graves on 12/7. Time will be determined. She's still working out a schedule right now. Volunteers are still needed. If interested, email honorwreaths@gmail.com, or you can call the office here. And any wreath forms for anybody that wants to purchase a wreath are due by 11/15, and they are $15 a piece. All information can be found on the Facebook page under Honor Wreaths. So hopefully Kathy's been very busy, and she's done a great job, and she ordered 2,500 wreaths this year to be placed. Last year we ordered 1,200, and we ended up getting 1,200 free, so we did 2,400. This year she purchased 25.
What was the date, Linda?
12/7, it's a Saturday. And Kindig and Middle Ridge will be participating, that I'm responsible for. Ridge Hill is participating, and so is St. Joe's, and they have their own people there that are doing it. Medicare open enrollment is currently going on. It's till December 7th. I can't urge people enough to take a look at their prescription coverage. I just counseled someone the other day that if she kept her same plan with all of her same medications, it was over $23,000 a year it was going to cost her for the meds. Because what the insurance companies are doing, instead of falling under the cap of the $2,000 that the Inflation Reduction Act has instilled, they're dropping the medication coverage. So I was able to find her another plan that brought it down to $1,300 for the year instead of the $23,000. But she has to switch plans, which she would have never known had she not had somebody look at it. And families can look at it for their loved ones. They can go to any licensed insurance broker. They can come here. They can call here. There's a lot of ways to do it, and I can talk anybody through it if you want to just call in and do it for a mom, dad, aunt, uncle, neighbor, whomever. But it is important that you do it. And I know for my mom alone, I saved her $6,000 by switching. So it is important. And I think that is it.
And one last thing, I assume the Rustic Hill OPWC
Yes, yes.
project's all entered.
That, I forget what the date was that it was due, and I had it in,
All
I
right,
think
as
the
long as I know I
31st.
cross it off the list,
Yep,
it's
yep.
in there.
It's in. And then NOPEC, we still have some money sitting in there
Okay.
for a grant money if we want to consider a project. We can keep it in escrow till next year and do something, but we do have that.
And NOPEC did have their annual meeting today. I did have the option. When I signed up, I thought I'd be recovering faster, and I said I'd be there in person, but obviously that's not happening because I can't drive. I did sign the proxy for Dave Lashinsky to vote on my behalf, so we could at least conduct business. But I was going to try. They had sent a link yesterday, I believe, where I could attend virtually, and I planned on doing that. But as the morning went on, I decided, I probably would have difficulty paying attention to it. So I thought I've got to be more on my game for tonight's meeting, and I hate to say it, I didn't attend. I'm hoping there was nothing that I saw in any of the communication they've given of any major change, but obviously they approved the budget. They let you know if there is going to be a big change. The last change they had was more for businesses that could apply, for the different types of low-interest loans that are there. And I know there have been businesses here in Lorraine County or the communities that are part of NOPEC that have taken advantage of it. But I'm sure I'll get something with a summary within the
they
next
usually
week
send
or
it out.
so. All right, thanks, Linda. Are there any questions for Linda, David?
At this time, no.
Okay, not reporting on stormwater today. Or hold. The complaints that aren't on hold. Let me look. David, where do we stand on the street lights? Has First Energy taken care of those?
Some are, some aren't. I know the one on Hidden Valley is still out. I don't have an update on that. I don't know where that is as far as the work order. I know there's still a street light out at Deer Run and Hillside. That's been called in. Another light where there's something a little more than a sensor or a light bulb. I'm trying to think where else there's been trouble with lights, but otherwise, several others that were called in seem to have been fixed. There's the lights back on at Deepwood and Rosedale. That was one of the lights that was scheduled to be moved, now it's back on, so I don't know what the story is with that. That's another light I'd like to get an update on. But aside from that, no, I have nothing to update now. There's still open cases.
Okay.
So I let it, and then, they haven't been forgotten.
Okay.
I'll let you know, and if people hear that, and I know particularly like on Deer Run, that light is out there at that intersection, it's been called in, and we're at the mercy of Ohio Edison right now.
I can tell you personally, we're the same thing. It's been now, I think, 4 months for a light that we pay for monthly on our own private residence that they have repaired. And I realized early on, the reason was all the personnel moved to help with the hurricane, but now it's starting to get ridiculous. And I'm wondering if I just stop paying it, if they won't charge me the the extra fee for sending in short for that light that I'm being charged for that I'm not getting. Yeah, well, it's even worse, we're leaving the house lights on, because, we're in a large lot area, and it's very dark, and So we pay for our own security light, and now we don't even have it. So now we're paying for the security light, and we're paying to power up all our outdoor lights around the house. So hopefully, I know Georgianne stays on them to get that done. The last item here, and Kevin, I know you're working on this. This is the tributary to the Engle Ditch on Stang Road. You want to report anything on that status?
It's underway. I did talk with Don, and now working with Linda, we are revamping the full-time easement, getting the wording right for it, to get that in to try to get hooked up with those ARPA funds.
Okay, yeah, it sounds like the residents there are all supportive, so that would be helpful. Okay, the next item, and this one on sanitary sewers, you do have a prepared resolution in your packet. This is, and David had mentioned, the transportation garage that the Amherst Exempted Village Schools wants to install on property they have on Dewey Road. Well, to do that, they also need access to the sanitary sewers. And if you recall, there was a settlement that was done when we had a lawsuit going on predominantly with Hidden Valley residents over the cost of sanitary sewers and waters. You know, it got boosted up at one time 200% of the in-city rate, and it was backed off to 130% or 150%. It kept varying. When that got settled, the county did agree with Lorraine. Essentially, the county took over responsibility for the infrastructure. Lorraine reduced the cost 125% and actually had a fixed number in a contract agreement. There wasn't a number before, so it was whatever they decided it would be at any point in time. Well, when they signed that agreement, they gave very specific defined areas for the sanitary sewers. Where the property the school owns on the east side of Dewey Road is in the City of Lorraine's facility planning area for the provision of sanitary sewers. So the contract requires an amendment to allow those sewers to be extended to that area at the same 125%. I'm not going to go through the resolution. I pretty much use as a template the resolution we used in approving the last one. David, I hope you had a chance to read it over before because it's quite extensive.
I know the whereas, well, in the whereas you have the history in here.
Yes.
Of everything, and,
Yeah,
and I'm vaguely familiar with it.
Okay, yeah, because first off, the prosecutors ruled before, the trustees really have no authority to enter in an agreement like this anyway.
No, it went through Lorco, but this is not through Lorco. This is an agreement between the City of Lorraine and the County of Lorraine. In
Right.
essence, the only thing we would be doing would be acquiescing in it, or
Pretty much.
giving our blessing to it, or acknowledging that we've received notice of it, one of those.
Yes, I think the issue at the time, what the law director was concerned with, there was a bill in place that never did get approved. And we had discussed it at Lorraine County Township Association, because obviously this affects other communities. Had the bill gone through, what it was saying was, well, okay, you can charge more outside your area than you charge your in-city resident, but if you do that, you aren't going to be eligible for the grants, low-interest loans, and what they call forgivable loans. So you take out a loan, there's a rate, but after a certain number of years, you don't have to pay it back, with the understanding because those tax dollars that fund that are all of our tax dollars. And water's a basic need, and a sanitary sewer, if it comes across your home, you're within 100 feet, you are required to connect. You don't have a choice. Matter of fact,
That
it
was
will take you to
200
court.
feet. I thought it was 200 feet.
Or 200, you're right, Dave. But in any case, you're forced into it, so, you have no choice, and you set up these facility planning areas, so there's no competition either. Well, if you've got a monopoly on the item, it was like, well, why should you get taxpayer dollars if you're then charging the extra fee for extending the service? But the City of Lorraine, recognizing that, they insisted on the townships also signing. So essentially, that's all. We're approving this, we'll sign it, but technically for the prosecutor, we don't really have any authority. So, um, that being the case, I'm going to make the motion to authorize amendment number 1 regarding the sewer service agreement by and between the City of Lorraine for the County 104 sanitary sewer service area.
I think from my point, Neil, I'm I'm remiss about that bus garage in that area. Upsetting me. It's difficult for me to want to second this. Now I know that talked about it in the past, but something that really kind of hurt me was that they mentioned how it was similar to Avon Lakes. Avon Lake has a bus garage, and it turns out that there are bus garages on what Parkway, which is an industrial park, and now we have a bus garage, but it's not in an industrial park. It's in a residential area, and it's butting up against a subdivision, and I'm upset about that. We second this right now. I'm just having heartburn with it. Although whether I second it or not, whether it gets approved or not, that really, it's a moot point because it's already done by the county and the city. It's already changed. This was something that soften the impact of the bus garage, or perhaps find a better location than right next to a subdivision. It's really something that if it wasn't part of the schools would definitely be more suited for a light industrial zone than a residential zone. Schools are conditionally permitted use in the residential areas, but generally that's schools, but of course if you have schools, you have the supportive services such as bus garages, and still, in certain things, they work with the schools. Like I said, it would be better suited for a light industrial zone. I'm having difficulty wanting to second this because of that, the location right next to those homes. And originally thought it'd be more fronting on Dewey Road, but there's wetlands problems on the property close to the road, so they had to set it back. And then came up with a plan, and it's very close to the homes, back of the homes on Oak Knoll and Moss Canyon. I just have difficulty seconding this because of that right now.
Well, David, I hope you would, because as you can see, there's a lot of work put into getting this together.
I understand.
And doing it one-handed.
I understand.
Well, let me finish now, let you talk. Everything you said is correct. But there are several things I want to cover. First off, one, I would ask that you just look at this. Don't think of it as the bus garage. Think of it as the expansion of the sewer service area, because that is in the City of Lorraine's area. And it guarantees that now anything that goes in there, you have at least a maximum that they can be charged. The current school bus garage is in a residential area. And as you heard, we have the chair of our zoning commission that ruled on a site plan review was the former police chief in the city of Amherst, and he never had a complaint. The current bus garage cannot house any of the buses. It's more a maintenance facility. All of the buses are outside. And being outside in the winter time, they have to run those buses for an extended period of time to get them warmed up, which they're not going to have in the new bus garage because they're all going to be inside. Only half of the current fleet is diesel, the other half is gasoline, which so that's going to be less of the emissions. They all do meet the emission standards. The putting conditions on, that will occur at the conditional use hearing. What I heard from the residents, the biggest thing they want is some buffer. They've got an all-wooded area there right now on 30 acres. The schools have done everything they can, and I've had informal meetings with them as far as the location of that to try and put it as far away from the residents as possible and leave as much of the natural buffer in place as they can. As far as the locations, the school did look at other locations that they own across where the current bus garage is now, but planning for the growth, they're thinking that's going to be, with elimination of that bus garage, a better location for the new school or expansion. You know, everything they've done makes perfect sense. The real key here, as you are aware, this was originally intended, before we were ever contacted, was going to be annexed. And if for whatever reason this gets turned down, I can assure you that's what's going to happen. And once that happens, our residents have no say in what they get there. What I heard at the meeting with the zoning commission, even though there's no commitment on this, is several things the schools will try to do to address the residents' concerns. One, which they already have, which we brought up at the preliminary site plan review, is the minimum lighting required for security purposes, all directional so that the light doesn't scatter out to the other residents' homes. The parking area for the individuals that come in is on the northwest corner, which will minimize, because people are concerned with, lighting coming in and shining into their backyards through 50 feet of trees. The reality is, when you look at where that parking area is, that's about 400 feet away from the homes, because you've got the 50-foot tree buffer, you've got the parking area, you've got the garage, then you have where the employees are going to come in. The backup alarms that have to be checked was another concern. What the current director said he's going to do is check on what the minimum audible sound for backup alarms is, if they are adjustable, and adjust it to the lowest possible. In terms of the buffer in the surrounding area, which may actually have to be in the rear yard of the residents or right on the property line the school zone, which may require removal of existing older tree growth, is they said they would look and consider either a fence or putting up an evergreen, it was suggested arborvitae along there, which would be additional cost for the schools, but they have to look at that. When they looked at putting it on the school property, that would be difficult because where the bus garage is going to be located, the elevation is 5 foot below the elevation of where the residential homes are. So, you can put up a 5-foot tree there and you're still looking across the top of the building. There's also a dry conduit being pulled, because we know in the future these are going to be electric buses. That's going to take care of the situation of concern of any of the smells they've gotten at. I've already mentioned they won't have to be warmed up again. But there was an awful lot of discussion in meetings I've had. I don't want to go through all the discussions we've had in executive session, but the decision is this bus garage going to be in Amherst Township, or is Amherst Township going to cede that land to the city of Amherst? Essentially, that's what it comes down to, because that's the only property the school owns where they feel they can put it there. And I want to work with the schools as much, and they see they're working with us, so we'll have to set those conditions at the time of the conditional use hearing before the BZA meeting, and I'm sure that's going to be a well-attended meeting also, and nobody is going to get everything they want there. But there's no way to stop it, and now let's assume there were, and the schools weren't going there. What's going to happen to that land if the schools sell it? Because that was one of the arguments when we were resisting the annexation we used, which you even brought up with Amherst. Well, wait a minute. What if the schools decide to sell that? And now it's all city of Amherst. So let's assume the schools decide to sell that property. Do we have any authority whatsoever to require somebody to keep up the trees? That's a question. The answer is no. And if you think of the examples we had at the intersection of Pile and Middle Ridge, that whole forest was taken down, over 30 acres. People in Copper Creek were upset. But we have no authority, they took it down. We had over on Stang Road, large wooded area lumbered out of there. People were upset. We have no authority over that. Person owned the land, they wanted to lumber the trees, they could. Over here on Oberlin Road, across the street from me, large wooded area taken down. Now, fortunately, a couple of the residents were able to get with the property owner and bought extra acreage. Not all of them did, and they were upset, but it's, somebody owns the land, they got a right to use their land. So I hope people understand that, you know, in the schools, that's not like they have a, you know, that can keep asking for more money. If you think about the number of homes down there, the home lot width varies between 82 and 85 feet. So if you use 84 as the average, and you assume, let's assume it was arborvitae. Let's say you had an arborvitae that grows at a 4-foot diameter. Well, at an 84-foot width lot, you need 21 arborvitae, right? Even if you plant a young one at $200 a piece, that's going in there. How much is that, David? $4,200 a lot? How many lots are we going to do that the schools would do between Moss Canyon and Oak Knoll? Probably at least 20, or likely close to 30. You're going almost a half mile of either fencing, and they talk about board-on-board fencing, or planning. So I just want you to be aware, don't know that the schools will agree to it, but one way or another, there's going to be a transportation center there. So I'm hoping you just look at this as changing the facility planning area, bring your other arguments before the BZA's conditional use hearing, because that's the point at which conditions are put in place. And hopefully we get agreement between the schools and the residents as to what's acceptable there. And I think we got to be upfront with the residents too. You know, the reality is I don't care what comes into the township, anything new, except if it's right in the commercial area. I haven't found yet where any resident likes anything new going up next to them. I mean, that's just been the experience I've had. As a matter of fact, I've got a new neighbor who's upset that he's getting a new house put next to him, and I found it comical because I thought before you came here, I just always looked at an open field. You know, so it's just funny how people get with that, but I'm hoping, David, you'll second this. If not, I don't know what message it sends. You know, I'll just have to go through a lot of work to redo this resolution.
It's a fait
Linda or
accompli
Morgan are
right
going to have to
now.
spend a lot of time recopying this,
I don't
because
know
then
if-
he'll be at the next meeting, and I can
Yeah,
assure you he
David.
will approve it. So what are you
Yeah,
doing
but-
by not seconding this?
My concern is what, if they need sewers, they won't get sewers from Amherst.
They
have to
can't.
get it, there's no sewers at this time in that section of Dewey Road, or even accessible because of the ravine that the sewers
Right,
would have to
Amherst
hit.
can technically, without a pump station, they're not going to. Besides, Lorraine will not, to get that facility planning area change, you gotta go through the NWACA process. NWACA process requires all entities to agree to the change. All it's going to take is one, and I guarantee the county won't agree, Lorraine won't agree. So the situation we're going to have is it still stays Lorraine Sewers. This is just changing the agreement so that when sewers are provided there, the maximum charge is 125%. If you don't get this agreement, they still can get sewers, but they're getting sewers with whatever they worked out as one individual entity with Lorraine. And Lorraine can eat, who knows what Lorraine will tell them. I doubt if it'll be a better deal. So that's all this is doing. And does that make sense? You're not preventing them from getting sewers.
Yeah.
If you want to be stubborn about it, we'll put it off to the next month, but you've just created an awful lot of extra work for people. Spending a lot more money. Is that what you want to do?
Wait till next month. As far as your work into this, Neil?
Okay, David.
Neil?
It dies for lack of a second, Chris.
But you're not gonna rewrite the
We
whole thing.
we can't deal with common sense. We got to waste more money. Sorry, Linda, you guys are going to have to go through this all again. Okay, David, for the other items that are open that you have responsibility for, other than the lighting, do you have anything more to report?
I have nothing to bring in.
Okay.
We have 2 items here.
I do have then under new business, we've received notification from the Lorraine County on the 3-year renewal for Lorraine County healthcare benefits. You've got a prepared resolution here with the new contracts that require signatures. I'm going to make a motion for the authorization of the continued healthcare benefits joint insurance program agreement with Lorraine County Board of Commissioners effective January 1st, 2025.
Okay, second.
Any discussion?
Well, I have a question. So if 11-7 would have been the sewer service agreement, but it died for lack
It
of a
died,
second.
right.
Is this 11-7?
Yes, this would be 11-7.
It'll just be 11E. That's still a resolution.
No, there was no
It's a
There's
motion
no
number.
resolution.
It's a motion number. So it's motion instead of resolution,
died
11.
for-
How would there be a motion number when there was no second to it?
Because it was brought up and it just first, and then there was
So
no
you want this to
second.
be 8?
This would be 8.
Let my
That's the way I
Robert's rules
understand
of-
it goes, Neil. Anytime you get something that's brought to
That's all
the
right.
floor, that you present something, it gets a number. And then when it's seconded, it becomes,
Roll call, Chris?
Lynch?
Yes.
Urick.
yes.
So that is 11.
Well, this isn't a resolution until it passes.
Okay, and the next one, and this because Tanya Beecraft from the county, and the communication she sent to Chris and forwarded to me on the healthcare, they also had a question on life insurance. And so I called Tanya to find out if this, the cost, and if this is something that the township can be part of. She did indicate that several townships already were, and based on the information which you have in the packet Chris provided, going with the county's life insurance versus life insurance the township currently provides to employees will save us a little over $400 a year. And going through this to make sure the authorization is there, it's for the township. There are 2 things. ORC section 505.602, which is what we were always under before, allows the provision of the life insurance up to a maximum of $50,000. There's also was an Attorney General opinion, which is 2003-026. Believe it or not, it was Jeff Manning, way back when he was a prosecutor of Lorraine County, requested this from the state, and that opinion did say that the different entities that rule both the counties and the townships can actually join together. So it's in a very long written response to the inquiry as far as making sure the authority is there, even though when you read through the ORC, they give the specific citation for joining in healthcare in Ohio Revised Code Section 9.833. You don't find that equivalent for group life insurance, but essentially this Attorney General opinion says, yes, this is lawful. So with that, we've got something in writing. I know I didn't want to take just because other townships are doing it, it's okay, and I couldn't reach the prosecutor's office in this short time to get an answer on it. But, you know, when I found this Attorney General opinion, and researching on my own, we are okay to do this. So I'm going to make a motion that authorizing the joining of the Lorraine County Board of Commissioners Joint Life Insurance Program, which will be effective January 1st of 2025.
I will second.
Lynch?
Yes?
Urick?
Yes.
The number, Chris?
That's 11-9.
Thanks for getting that information, Chris, because that's what I told Tanya, it would be more cost dependent, and the trustees would have to decide. And you've got the agreements there, or you'll have to, for
Yes,
this one,
and then
take
I will
the
have-
certified resolution.
Yes, and I will have the applications for everybody. I'll get them from Tanya, or she sent them. I think I have them electronically.
Right, okay, yep, and you'll get that out to Russ and Kevin and take care of that. So
Yep.
Kevin, you'll be seeing that as far as life insurance and health insurance for next year. But they gotta get it done now, carry over for next year.
Yep.
Okay, our next regular scheduled meeting will be 7 o'clock on Tuesday, November 26th. I forgot to put the org meeting down here. I know, Chris, we had that in the minutes, but the org meeting, was that 12/17?
Yes.
And that's still going to be at 7. Okay, any audience concerns? This is your chance. Go ahead, Kirsten. Mention your name even though we know who you are.
We know who you are. I'm Kirsten Hill, 44905 North Ridge Road, Amherst. Amherst Township on the north coast of Amherst Township. And if I knew that Amherst City was going to annex and I'm right there at the front line, I would not be happy. I would not be happy. And also, I wouldn't be happy if part of my precinct that I represent would be annexed. I am a Central Committee member with the Republican Party, and I am regularly circulating around that area of Dewey Road and Park Avenue and have conversations with a lot of people around the township. But I do have a few questions related to campaigning. Maybe you could direct me to the section of the zoning resolution or something else related to no soliciting signs. When there's a no soliciting sign on someone's door, what that applies to? Is that just to somebody selling something?
I'm not sure. I know I've seen that from people before when I've been out, you know, when I have to run in campaigning also. So I can just tell you what I do. I don't know if there is even a law on that. I will leave literature, but I will not knock on the door.
Yeah, generally I'm respectful of the request. I just wondered if there's something in the Amherst Township guidance on that.
Don't have anything as far as I know on soliciting.
Yeah, but
On our soliciting,
For the transient vendors that are selling
Right.
door to door, we do.
the thing.
Right.
But
the-
if you're a
Let Linda explain.
501c3 or you're a school, a sports team, or political, or even like Jehovah Witness, a religious group, you do not have to get a transient vendor license to go door to door.
Okay, I
realize the
thought-
reason that was put in place, we were getting all these transient vendors, and some of it was being used for unscrupulous people and checking things out and coming back later and getting them, or coming with the two people, one distracts while the other would go into the home or, you know, the garage or whatever. So this way, if someone's going around, and we put it in the newsletter where everyone knows, but as Linda's indicated.
Yeah, we did a lot of
the-
research on that to see, and we cannot regulate like religious groups, political groups, the school groups.
Yeah, but when you're talking individual homeowner, I don't know, I'm not a lawyer, I don't know if there's anything there when they put up no solicitation. To me, it's out of respect of that individual saying, don't want it to be disturbed. It's also potentially maybe they have somebody that has some frailty or medical condition, maybe somebody that works shifts and is sleeping. So just personally, what I do, I will leave my personal literature and walk off.
Okay, yeah, I also have several volunteers that work on this, so if there was something written about that, it would be
Yeah,
helpful.
we don't-
Kirsten, I think you need to talk with a lawyer who specializes in freedom of speech.
Okay.
Whether you can or can't, it will be determined about the political nature of it. You're allowed, free speech,
Yeah.
opinions, give opinions, and
Yeah.
opinions, and you're allowed to reach out to people in free speech. Of course, if they give you negative feedback, you persist, and you could get into trouble for like harassment, things like that. So you don't want to overdo it. But as far as saying no, you can't. I can't give you an answer on that. I can only tell you consult with a free speech lawyer. I can have my opinions on it, but those are my opinions.
Yeah. Okay, I have a couple other.
But I believe there is some wiggle room there, but it's under free speech, freedom of association. It's need.
That's good enough.
Politics to be able to discuss things with your neighbor.
Yeah.
Things like that.
I'm good. I don't need any more information. I'm good, David. Thank you. The couple other things. You mentioned that there's a date being set for the conditional use hearing related to the application.
There will be a date set.
Okay. Where would I look? In the newspaper or?
It'll be in the newspaper, but, finding that, it's probably best to call the zoning inspector, Sam D'Ambrosio.
Okay, all
Or the
right.
website.
Or the
Dan will
website.
have it on the website.
Once it's on the calendar.
Okay. Okay. That's interesting, the discussion you've had about HB 47 and the requirement on this AED. I just wondered if the OTA has advocated for townships to make an exception.
The OTA has been getting all sorts of, Linda, have you spoken with anyone at the OTA?
I have not.
Okay, I know that they've been getting calls from other townships with the same concerns. Realize it's only going to be the larger townships since it specifically said 5,000 or more residents. So, like most of our southern townships here in Lorraine County, it doesn't affect them. But, Carlisle, Eaton, Columbia, Amherst, I'm not sure about Elyria Township and Sheffield Township if they have that many.
I mean, was it really intended to be for outdoor recreational?
The way this happened is, if you recall, actually was the father of one of the members of the Cleveland Browns team who died in a spinning class. No guarantee this would have saved him, but it was an indoor facility. They had no AED. For just strictly indoor facilities, we have no problems. We have the AEDs here. And when it started through, that's the way it was going to be with schools, making a requirement on schools, because many of the schools didn't have them. And also the requirement on indoor organized recreational activities. Somehow it got changed going through, and the verbiage now is even the outdoor recreation. And it was our concern from it, it'd be nice to have, but it's a practical situation. We've got 2 full-timers, everyone else is part-time. There was no funding provided. Well, how do we do this and comply with the law? And there are penalties if you don't comply, forget what the penalty amount is, but it escalates as you go by. Somebody's going to try and take advantage of that. How do we provide an AED for 2 outdoor recreational areas we have? Make sure that it's easily accessible to people when it's in need, but at the same time, not something that somebody steals, damages, plays with, causes harm to somebody. yeah, there's all sorts of things, so, does it make any sense to put in, oh, we'll put it in, but we're gonna lock it up? Well, then who has access to that lock? And if we make it even electronic lock, which increases the expense, how many people get that number? Okay, we give it to all the coaches, then we gotta change it each year, it's just, and then you've also gotta make sure people have the training. It tells you how many times you gotta go through the training. We all got the training for use here, but now it tells you specifically when. It just becomes a thing from a practical standpoint, doesn't work. So when I spoke with Representative Miller and Manning, that's where they didn't realize when it was coming through, they thought, well, this is schools and indoors. That's not the way the final language is.
It says playgrounds.
Yeah, so I think they're
Athletic
going to
fields.
have to change it. I think many of the others just didn't realize this. I know it shocked me when it came out because typically the OTA always sends us pending legislation that may impact the townships. And I know Linda gets it too. We never got a heads up till it was passed and was effective. I think it was October 26th. It was
24th.
Okay.
And it only
October
gave us like 2
24th.
weeks.
It's like, this is ridiculous. We just got notice of this. It takes effect within a few weeks. But we saw that from, again, looking at it common sense, probably won't hurt us because now we're going in that time period where the recreational activities in our areas dies down. We're going to go into the winter months, so we don't have to worry about the soccer, baseball, softball, football, the whole.
And there's the assumption that this thing will cure whatever it is
There's no
that somebody
guarantee.
has.
Well,
You
that's-
cannot protect for
There's
everything.
no guarantee.
And even the individual who died assumes that that would have,
Right.
Yeah.
That's the assumption.
Yeah.
It
Kirsten.
doesn't hurt to have
Anyway.
it, but to say everybody has it and go through all the training, how to use, from a practical standpoint, doesn't make sense. We were also concerned, I understand why the individual for the Cleveland Browns and his family wanted it. I understand it. But I don't know who lobbied for it strong, like, the person that sells AEDs might have, because now all these communities have to buy AEDs. We've got like our fire extinguishers, we pay a contract service to come out and check those all the time. Now we're gonna have to have the same thing, we either gotta do it ourselves, or we gotta pay somebody to go out and check these things and make sure they're in working order, being maintained. I'm sure that'll be the next thing in our audits, that we've all had the training. We're going through an audit right now, and sometimes it's not strictly just financial. Well, how in the heck are we going to practically do this and think about the changeover of personnel you're going to have? So I'm hoping that they do change it. I can tell you my contact with the OTA has been, they're just starting to hear back from the townships now. There was no reason given why we didn't get a heads up before this. I did not bring it up at the last Lorraine County Township Association meeting because, again, looking at the townships that attended, many of them, it didn't affect them all as a group. It was only a small proportion of the larger townships that were impacted. I did speak with those individuals separately about it. They weren't even aware of it.
maybe write a letter and have all those, have signers
And that-
from the
that
larger
may
town.
be, I can assure you, I'm sure there's all sorts, it's not just the townships either. I ran into a city council person for the village of Sheffield. Said, hey, you guys have more than 5,000 people, and he laughed, well, technically they don't because they want to stay a village, but they're really over 5,000. I asked him, and he wasn't aware of it. I said, might want to bring it up before council, and I asked him, do you have outdoor? Oh yeah, this affects you guys. You better start looking at it.
Yeah, so then it discourages outdoor activities.
Well,
It could. You've got all these unintended
I'm going
consequences.
to have one option, rid of it.
Oh, but we want, yeah, anyway. Okay, thank
The
you.
weather to contend with, too.
Yeah.
We have to worry about the winter and the heat in the summer.
I was out, you mentioned the next item is the ambulance and fire
Right.
and police. So Amherst Township has Route 2 going through it. So that means that Township is responsible for activities there, and then you have an arrangement with Amherst Police that they actually respond to
With
things?
the fire, we have,
Yeah, you got,
we have for ambulance, we have an agreement signed with Life Care. For fire, we have an agreement with the city of Amherst for the provision of fire. But for the ambulance, we're paying, the district cost is $189,000 a year. Okay, and we all, between the three entities, pay our proportion based on usage. For the fire department, we pay each call. I haven't looked at what the average number would be right now, but in the past, if you took an average, every time they come out, it's $800. Realize there's some are higher, some are lower, because we pay for every individual that responds, we pay for every piece of equipment that responds, except we've got the one tanker truck. That we don't pay for. We purchase the truck, we lease it to the city.
so
There's a cost.
every road that goes through, whether it's a state route or a whatever?
We pay for it.
Okay.
So that's where we're looking at, how do we recover that cost? Because, you know, we're seeing these, and many of the people we're serving aren't even township residents. But we didn't want to get in a position where we're charging that fee or billing the insurance if no one around us is. But what we're finding is most of them already are. And so that's why we're looking at, can we recover some of those costs that are going out? And that's going to require a bit more discussion between, you know, between South Amherst, City of Amherst, and Amherst Township, since we're the three that are partnering together in those services.
And then last thing, did I gather that you're looking for volunteers for the wreath placement
Right.
activity? Okay.
Yeah, and I believe it went out in the last newsletter also.
Okay,
To
yeah.
notify all the
All right.
township residents. And I think in the newsletters on the website, I don't recall if you put a separate notice about the wreaths.
I don't know if there's, I think Kathy may have.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. All right, is there any other business?
Nothing at this time, Neil.
There's no need for an executive session, so I'm going to make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, I will second.
Lynch,
Yes.
Uri.
Yes.